Hello. Good
Hello,
just
everybody.
afternoon, everybody here in the UK. And happy day wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day or night it is for you. Hi, welcome. Great. Someone's giving us some theme music. Welcome, everybody. How are we doing? Hi, Debbie. Hi, Nikki. Oh gosh, that's a nice background you've got there. That it's not your real background, is it, Nikki? You're not looking out over the sea. Great. Hi, Alison. Hi, Keith. Great. Everyone's coming in now. Oh, we've got some really, really summery backgrounds today. Oh, Charles. Hello, Charles. Lovely to see you. How are you? You good? Great. Lovely. Charles is a singer from one of my choirs. So that's nice. Great.
Hi, everybody.
I'm just going to have a little swizz through all the pages and see. Give me a wave if you're joining us from inside the UK. Great. Hamish is here. Ah, Marisa and Lucia are both here. Great. Fantastic. Nice to see you. Mary, Ruth. Great. And let's switch. Give me a wave if you're outside the UK. Diana Jeffries. Hi, Jill. Gonna swizz down through pages. Oh gosh, page 7 is all in the UK. Kathy and Pamela, hello. And oh, page 8 is also a United Kingdom page, or maybe they've just stopped waving. Julia, hello, welcome. Marta, welcome.
Hi, Axel. Hi, Julie. Oh, it's lovely to see everybody again. Hi, Sofieka.
Great.
Great.
Oh, and I can see Rashida and Lane over there on page 10. Fabulous. Right, I'll switch back to the beginning. And if anybody's wondering, incidentally, before we get cracking, when I say I'm switching through pages, if you can only see 3 or 4 faces, maybe have a little play around and check that you're on gallery view, because it's really nice to be able to see everybody. If you're on a laptop, you should be able to switch to gallery view in the top right-hand corner rather than speaker view. And if you're on a phone or a tablet, you can swipe to get different views. So it's nice to be able to see everybody. All right. Okie dokie. Hello, welcome to Rehearsal 6, which is our Saturday rehearsal on the final chorale, which, although it's the 3rd movement we're working on, is actually going to be the final movement in our performance. I think the title kind of gives it away. My name's Tori Longdon. Most of you have probably met me already. And this is...
Hello, I'm Jamie Wright. I'm the other geekier half of Stay at Home Choir. The only thing I'm going to say before we crack on, some of you I know in the past rehearsals have asked about being able to turn the chat off. You're one of the people that likes to sit and watch rather than use the chat, which is absolutely fine. Please do whichever you feel best with. We will ask you to use the chat for some questions later. If you would like to turn that off, if you head, I'm talking from a computer perspective. If you go to zoom.us in your window and the Zoom preferences, you can click on chat on the left-hand side to turn off push notifications for messages. So your chat should then go dormant. So if you're the sort of person that finds that a little bit distracting in a rehearsal like this, which is absolutely fine, you are able to turn that off. You may need a little bit of an experiment on other devices. But without further ado, I think I'm right in thinking I'd like to pass over to Sir Karl Jenkins to give us a little introduction for those of you that haven't heard it already.
Trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning for me. I don't know what it is for some of you overseas, but good day. The closing chorale. It's never termed thus in the score or anywhere else. It's just become known as that. In essence, it's part of the last movement, which is a fast, joyous piece, which essentially says, better is peace than ever more war. And it's quite an exuberant piece. There's a bar's rest at the end of that, which sometimes invites audiences to clap when they shouldn't. But then it follows a very reflective prayer, essentially, which is from Revelations in the Bible. And it's marked largo, which means it's slow, around crotchet 40, and a cappella, which it means it's solo voices. Insofar as this, your video is concerned, there's a guide piano track. There's also a visual of me conducting, but Jamie or Tori will explain something about it because it might judder a bit depending where you are. The text is, God shall wipe away all tears and there shall be no more death. So essentially a prayer of hope or a statement of hope, if you're not religious, or a plea that in future there'd be no conflict, wars, genocides, whatever one wants to call it. But inevitably, we're still in the same kind of situation as we ever have been for centuries, where there's always conflict somewhere in the world. That's the piece. It's self-contained. As I said, it's called, in retrospect, I should have given it a name, like Closing Karl or God shall wipe away all tears. Perhaps if we have a reprint, we'll do that, but then that might confuse everyone. But Tori and Jamie will initially kick it off and tell you, with Kim and Simon, of course, about the musical aspects of it and some notes about the high G at the end. So in regards to dynamics, it's generally mezzo piano and gentle. Then there's a mezzo forte at bar 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean the full scores, so my numberings are different, but bar 9 is mezzo forte for 2 bars and a gradual diminuendo for 2 bars, and then ideally mezzo forte again for 2 bars and then a diminuendo to the end. It pulls about a bit tempo-wise, although I said it's largo crotchet 40. There's quite a bit of variation within the temp track that you'll be singing to. So be mindful of that. So I wish you all the best. Enjoy yourselves and have a great time with these wonderful coaches you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, our wonderful coaches today, we are very lucky to be joined by 2 singers from the 16. We have Kim Porter and Simon Berridge, and I'll just hand over to them quickly to say hello. Oh.
Hi there. I was looking for, I can't see Kim at the moment, so I was waiting for ladies first. Hi, my name's Simon Berridge. I sing tenor in the 16, and I'm very much looking forward to going through with the tenors and basses today for this lovely piece.
Hi, I'm Kim Porter. I'm alto in the 16. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself briefly. You'd have thought I'd have learnt that by now, but yeah, so I'm a singer, composer, workshop leader, and looking forward to working on this piece with you. Good morning, good afternoon.
And good evening and good night, because I can see
that
you come from Washington State, where it is currently 4 a.m. So I think from looking down the chat, massive kudos for you for being potentially the person who is up at the most antisocial hour. Now that really is dedication. And we also have some people from Yateley Choral Society, which is a choral society I know a colleague of mine, Quentin Beer, runs. So hello to you guys and welcome. And I think we've got some people who sang on the original Armed Man recording, not the original Armed Man recording, but the video that we're using for this project in 2018. If you sang on that, could you give me a wave, please? Hello, Annette and Joy and Emily and Carol and Sarah and Rosie and maybe Brian, or maybe he's just scratching his head. Okie dokie. Great. Okay, Jamie, do you want to say a couple of words about the Zoom rehearsal, the Zoom video, and then maybe we'll get cracking?
Yes, indeed. So lots of you have asked about where you find all the materials. I'll just issue a quick reminder on that. If you need the score for today and you don't have your own, all of the scores are available on www.stayathomechoir.com. If you log in, we have lots of different options for making sure you have the music in front of you, including the learning videos, which you can access on YouTube via the website. You just need to click on the movement at the bottom of the instructions page. That will take you there. Today, Kim or Simon may wish to, though they of course don't have to. They may wish to use the guide videos that you also have access to on the website. If they choose to do so, you may notice that there is a little bit of juddering in the film, or there may not be, depending on where in the world you are. This is just a result of streaming, unfortunately. If you do go and access them on the website, they are perfectly in time and perfectly in sync, so do not fear. But something you may just wish to be aware that if you do try and follow Karl, there may, just because of lag with streaming and the limitations of the technology in Zoom, there may be a bit of a difference there. So just something to be aware of in case that does happen, though fingers crossed it doesn't.
Thank you, Jamie. So now the sopranos and altos, it is your turn to swap rooms today. So Moya's going to open the breakout rooms in just a moment, and then everybody will see a pop-up notification. If you are a soprano or an alto, please click. If you are a tenor or a bass, you can sit back and think of England because you don't have to do anything. And Simon will just start the rehearsal in the sectional room once the sopranos and altos have cleared off. So, Moya, are you ready to open our breakout rooms, please?
I will be in 1 second.
Excellent. So just prime yourself for that notification.
Feel free to talk.
Talk amongst yourselves. Well, you can't because you're all on mute. Oh, how sad. One of the disappointments of Zoom. Oh, Audrey's back. Hello, Audrey. How are you? Yeah, good. We're getting very good at non-verbal communication, aren't we, on Zoom?
How many do we have today, Tori?
We've got 373 people in the room at the moment, and a couple of latecomers, I think, coming in and out. Great. Maybe whilst we're just sorting this out, we can just do a quick warm-up all together. Shall we? Shall I just do stand and shake, and then we can split people up. So if you, as far as you're able, if you're able to stand up, do. I've chopped my own head off here. There we go. Do as much of this as is comfortable for you. Don't overdo it. Just give your shoulders a little bit of a circle, especially if you're in Washington and it's 4 a.m. Happy 4th of July, by the way, to our American friends. Reach up in the air. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And give a little wave to the ceiling. And you can feel that you're just going to stretch out all the muscles in between your ribs. Maybe just give it a little bend over to the right-hand side if that's comfortable for you. That's lovely. Some people are really going for it. It's like we're in a yoga class. Another breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And over to the side. First of all, straight up in the air. And then over to the left-hand side. Breathing in through your nose. And out through your mouth. Back to the middle. And just go for a little bit of a 1970s disco dance. You don't want your feet to be too far apart. You look like you're a sumo wrestler. We're looking for quite a dainty little pose here, and you're just going to have a little wiggle. Whilst you do that, just become aware of how your body's feeling today. This is not a judgmental thing. Are you comfortable? Are you holding tension in any place? You're all looking mighty fly, having a little wiggle around. Very cool. That's it. And gradually come to a point of stillness. Now, everybody knows that tension is the enemy of good singing. So you want to feel when you're poised and ready to sing that everything is still and in a state of readiness, but that you're not fixing or locking or holding anything. So just this gradual move from shifting your weight to being still, but feeling that you could move. Oh, I'm just going to go mute our friends. There we go. How has that ended up like that? There we go. You can feel like you have the potential for movement at all times, okay? And now take in all of the stresses and strains of the world and breathe them out in one big world-weary sigh. Here we go, breathe in. And again, but this time we're not going to collapse when we breathe out. We're just going to keep that beautiful poise with the potential for movement. So breathe in and let it go. And this time we're not singing, we're just doing a vocal stretch. Just add a little bit of voice onto that. Just do an E or an R Nice and gentle, don't change anything. So breathing in. Ah, great. Hello, voice. One more time, breathing in. Ah. Okay, little bit of sobbing practice. This is lovely for getting nice, gentle onsets for when we're tackling music like this, which is very much about taking care of the legato and the quality of tone. So, oh no, your turn. And the more you charge this with emotion, the more effective it is as a warm-up. Oh no! Why me? Why me? Why me? Oh, you all look far too happy. You've got to look devastated. Why me? Oh. Very nice. Just one more. Let's just explore a little bit of a higher register. This is particularly useful for our sopranos because you've got some sustained high stuff coming up. Really sobby. Great. There are some tenors and basses I can see who are really getting into this. Well done, guys. So now you hear that you're in quite a singy place in your voice. Oh no. Oh no. It's very close to go from a sob to a singing voice. So we're just going to do a couple of those just to get everything moving, and then we'll head off into our sectionals. So my turn first and then yours. And we're going to start from that really sobby place. So the sound is going, feels like the sound is coming up and out like this. Oh, your turn. My turn. Oh no, your turn. Oh no, my turn. Oh no. Two more. Oh no. And one more for good luck. Oh yes. Because it's always good to finish on a positive. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, Moya, how are we doing? Oh, that's a thumbs up. All right, so get ready to see that notification on your screen, and then we'll hop off to breakout rooms.
Hello, I'm back. I was sent to the soprano and alto room as an imposter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the tenor and bass room. If you are a soprano or alto, don't fear, we won't chase you out with pitchforks just yet. If you are a soprano or alto, could you please go to the bottom of the screen and you can click breakout room. I believe that's the case. If you are a soprano or alto, you will need to click on the breakout room and be sent to the other breakout room. Let's just double check that that's the case. Tenors and basses, if you have made it here, and it looks like we've got mostly tenors and basses in the room, potentially with a few sopranos and altos, though of course sopranos and altos, you're welcome to stay if you'd like to. We will, however, be singing stuff that may be a little bit low for you, though never want to shy away from a challenge. Tenors and basses, this is your room. Please stay, don't go anywhere. Altos and sopranos, you have a couple of minutes before we chase you out with pitchforks. If you feel you're here by mistake and you can't figure out what to do, give me a singular jazz hand, please. Kathleen, at the bottom of your screen, and I've just seen a couple more waves, at the bottom of your screen you should have a button that says breakout rooms. No, I can see some of you shaking your head. Moya, are you able to assign somebody to a breakout room just by clicking their name?
I think that those who are having issues should now be in the breakout room.
Brilliant. Great. Could you give me a jazz hand if you're in the wrong place? This should be the tenors and basses room only.
There is
Brilliant. We've done it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Simon, are you here? We've nearly done it. We've nearly done it. So we're just waiting on Simon. And Simon, give me a shout when you're there. So, tenors and basses. While we wait for Simon, why don't we just continue with a little bit of a warm-up. We are working on the final chorale today. Of course, this is quite a challenging piece of music, and obviously, those of you that have sung along to this already with those backing tracks, it is quite slow. It is not an easy sing, this one. I've done part of those learning tracks myself, and it is hard on the breath. So if you'd like to stand for this rehearsal, you're very welcome to do so. If you prefer to sit, also fine. I'm going to remain sat for this. For now, could we just make sure that we've warmed up our whole range? I'd like to do some semi-occluded vocal tract exercises while we wait for Simon. Going from the very bottom of your range to the very top, all the way through our falsetto in our much higher range. I'd like you to just copy me, please. Go. Good. Copy this again. Go. Now, gentlemen, I know this feels a bit odd using our high range like this. Why on earth are we doing this? It is very, very helpful, particularly when we get up into our higher chest voice range. Embrace your falsetto, embrace the silly noises. Could I also ask, you'll notice that I use a lot of physical gestures when I do warm-ups like this. It's really useful to help mitigate any tension we may have. So please copy me. Go. Enjoy the fact that anyone else you might be sharing a flat, room, house, apartment with may be wondering what on earth is going on and if you're okay. Embrace that feeling. Simon, are you here yet? We don't have a Simon. Ladies and gentlemen, we've lost Simon. Hopefully he'll be in touch. I'm just going to stick a little message elsewhere.
He's here now. I've just let him back in.
Lovely, fantastic. Gentlemen, some things before Simon goes on to help you with this piece. I'd love you to be hyper aware of your breath throughout the whole of this. As I said, it's a very challenging sing at this speed, and when done really effectively, it works fantastically. Be really aware of what your body feels like and what your breath feels like. It's an important skill. As Tori said, it isn't a judgmental thing about being right or wrong, though of course there is a good way to breathe. What you should be doing, though, is pay attention to how, when you're singing in a really comfortable way, how that feels, so you can begin to replicate that feeling. Simon, where are you?
I'm up here. I'm on the first page. Good afternoon,
Lovely.
everybody. Sorry about that. They said it would be easy, but somehow it wasn't as easy as it was supposed to be. But I'm here now. And I was just going to tell you my lovely little story about the Italian tenor. As Tori was telling us all about the sobs, I couldn't help thinking about the Italian tenor. I hope there's no Italian tenors out there that I'm going to upset here, who found out that his mother had passed away, and he started saying, "Mama, Mamma mia, Mamma mia morte, Mama, 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 Mama." Anyway, I thought you'd like to have that at this, if you're 4 o'clock in the morning in Washington. Anyway, my job here is to help you on your pathway to learning "God Shall Wipe Away All Tears." And I had a few people the other day that we were talking about this, and if you all were there, forgive me for repeating myself, but basically I have a process of thinking about music. It starts with it's making music, and the final thing is making the music, but the first part is the nuts and bolts. So forgive me if you've sung this piece many times before, but I'm going to work on the nuts and bolts. That is the notes and the rhythm and obviously the words. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you might express it and any little technical things that could bring it about easier too. So that's my plan for today. So sorry to keep you waiting. So we're going to start off with, let's just see who you all are from. I've got 3 pages of you here. Let's just see. Hands up. I know you were saying UKs and things, but I couldn't work out. Hands up if you're outside the UK. Anybody outside the UK? I can't. Oh yeah, Axel. Axel, I'm guessing is that Germany, Axel? Yeah. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Brilliant. Okay. I haven't looked at the other pages. Right. If there's anybody from far off places, I hope your voices are in good state. Right. So we're going to go through these notes for the tenors and basses. So the first thing, of course, is the bass line. We'll work on that. You've got a very good start, haven't you, basses? Because you are just singing the same note for the first 7 notes. So that makes life a lot easier. The main thing I would say about these phrases is that you have to get this very long, sustained legato phrases into it. So I'm just going to go through that. Tenors, do feel free to join in as well. There's your note, and I'll count in 4. So I'm going to sing the bass line to start off with. I'll try and play both lines together. 3, 4. God shall wipe away all tears, and there shall be no more death. Now I'm taking that considerably faster than the track that Karl has been conducting, so you will need to take your time over that. Tenors, I'm going to sing your bit now. Hopefully, I've been singing, by the way, this morning. I've spent all my morning singing Tompkins' Music Divine, if you know that magical, for my group of Genesis students. I've got a seminar with on a webinar, I should say, on Monday. So my mind has been thinking about music all morning. Jamie knows all about Genesis because he was one of my students in my consort.
You
anyway,
were indeed.
We were indeed. So I should get you singing the bass line. But here we go. So here we go. This is the tenor line. God shall wipe God shall wipe away all tears, and there shall be no more death. Of course, you would do that in one breath if you got the right words the first time round. Okay. The most troubling bar is bars 7 and 8, I think, in terms of the harmony there. Let's do bar 5, 6 and 7 and 8 for the basses. So neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. One of the things I really love about this text, obviously it comes from the book of Revelation, but it's the word sorrow and crying. And one of the things I gave my tip for the day the other day, I was asked to do a recording, is that when you sing a word, that you remember this one fact, that the consonant at the beginning of the word may be the inspiration of the word, but the expression of the word is the vowel. So the way you use your voice and colour your voice for the words sorrow and crying is really important to adding the expression into the music. So I'll just do that again for the basses. Neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. And certainly with all the choirs, I work with a lot of choirs doing workshops. I think one of the greatest things I find is that people really want to express the words, and I can tell they really want to, but they often get misled into thinking that if you put the energy into the s of sorrow, that's where you get the stress from of the word. But it's not. It's in that vowel. Let the S take care of itself. If you think about sorrow, oro, and then sorrow, the S will take care of itself. Let's do the tenor line from there. Neither sorrow nor And those are the tricky bits for the tenor. It's that chromaticism there, isn't it? Let's put the tenors and basses together. I won't sing, but I'll play from the beginning up to there to give you both a chance to sing your part. So there's the tenor part and there's the bass. 1, 2, breathe, 4. Another good breath. It's amazing harmony there, but quite tricky, all that chromaticism in there. So before you started singing, notice that I started saying breathe before. Your breath is like if you like, you have a breath account. If you don't put money into your breath account, then you will not have enough money in that account and you will go overdrawn, something that some of us feel the pain of. So in order to make sure you do that, you need to take an early breath, a good deep breath, and then you also need to be economical with the amount of breath that you use on the line. The dynamic mezzo piano, that should be fine. Don't feel you have to sing too quietly. Just make sure your voice is working. Think about the colour of the sound you make rather than anything else. Let's go on to the next bit. Praise the Lord, 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 praise the Lord. And we'll do the ending in a second. So what I have to say about that, obviously that was the tenor part. If you want to practice these more melismatic phrases, I suggest you do, before you sing the actual recording, I suggest you do this little tip to helping with your articulation. So for instance, from bar 10, praise the Lord, 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 praise the Lord, 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 Lord. And there's a little bit of phrasing in there. La da 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 da. But the reason to say about doing Lord, Lord, Lord is if you think that, you will help the articulation of the words. So the tenors. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, etc. And it's enough of the tenor part. Too much tenor. Let's do a bit more bass. So this is from praise the... Oh, do you know, I don't think I really covered your little bit of harmony bit. Let's do neither. Let's cover that basses. And neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. That's the second bass part I've had to sing today. Music Divine, very low bass part for the bottom F. So watch out in that bar 7 basses. Neither shall da da da. Just tuck that in, that semiquaver on the of neither. From there, and neither shall there be any more pain. Going on with the bass part. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the etc. And we'll get to that bit in a minute. Now, somebody the other day asked me what I think about rolling my R's in praise. I personally feel, some of you may disagree with this, but if you go to a good old English cathedral in the old days, it's not so much these days, I have to say, but there used to be this praise the Lord, and I always felt that it didn't quite sound organic, natural. So I think a little less of the R, but yes, it's there. Praise. A little flick is always nice if you can do it. Not all of us can. Some of us struggle with that. But if you can do a little bit, praise, then it really helps that word. But it's the vowel that you're going to express on, not the consonants. Let the consonants take care of themselves. The other thing I said the other day was about this word Lord. When I was a choral scholar very many years ago, it seems like too many years ago now, in Cambridge at Trinity, I remember going for an audition for that, and I sat there listening, and the director of music asked me to sing these words: Praise ye the Lord. And there's some other people there, and I always remember that it's very easy to that word to come out as praise ye the Lord. Now, lard, as far as I remember, because you don't see much of it these days, is that rather fatty substance that you use for making Yorkshire puddings. So praise ye the lard may not be what we want, but praise ye the Lord is definitely what we want. So keep those lips forward, especially when you're doing Lord. So really make sure you stick to the Lord and no more lard. I'm carrying enough of that around with me after this corona thing. I would show you to it, but it's just too scary for words. Okay, so let's go from, we haven't done the last page, have we? So let's just do the last page of notes. So the first bit is praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. And I just sang those last two bars really badly because I completely forgot about that horrible little bar there. Didn't mean to say that, Karl. It's not horrible notes, it's just not so easy to sing. Lord. Now this is where another element of singing technique comes in, which we call placing. For those of you, many of you may know about this, but those who don't, you've got to think down to the higher notes. If you go Lord, then all the constriction and tension comes into the throat. So if you think down to note Lord, that may not be an issue for some of our lady tenors out there, but for us gents, it can be a bit tricky in that part of the range. Then, of course, you could combine both things, the Lord, and the placing element. So you could practice it, Lord. So now you're going to think of two things. You're going to think of Lord, and you're going to think of thinking down. So, Lord. So the whole phrase is, praise the Lord. And not an ounce of lard was used in that phrase. Okay, let's do from the basses now. So we'll have the basses from the top of that last page. Praise. I'm assuming you all got the same bar numbers and things. Bar 13. So here's my impression of a bass. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the I love that little moment there. Ba, da, da. If you can be really together and make something of that da, da. I like that. Along with the other one I like is the bit where it goes into, I can't remember, I'll tell you. But then there's the last bit is, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. And I just realised I didn't cover this the other day. You've got a choice. So if you think you're a baritonal bass, you could go Lord. But if you're a second bass, you can go Lord. So those two parts together go 1, 2. Lord. Now, how am I doing, Jamie? Have I got time to go way through?
It's great. You're putting my low notes to shame, Simon.
Am I?
I wondered if I could. I could ask about. You've talked about two different things with kind of how we treat the text and how we, in terms of the text stress and really following the stress of the word praise the Lord, and how we sing towards that, but also what you so nicely demonstrated with the praise the Lord. There's a musical phrasing there as well. There's kind of two ways we can look at it. I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sometimes after 35 years of doing it, you kind of forget that these things come naturally. But yes, it's thinking about the phrasing, isn't it? It's really about thinking through the phrase. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So that's an example. Wherever you sing, you need to sing through the phrases. You need to see the end. I can't remember, have I got time to do this? I was talking about the other day that my dear brother, I'm being very mean about him, but he was quite mean to me when I was little sometimes. And he had one of these little printing sets. And basically all the printing set had individual little rubber stamps for the letters. And he got a hold of this thing and he decided to go over my favourite scrapbook and write the words, Simon is a twit, on every single page with his printer. But the point I was going to make about that was the fact that if you see the words as S-I-M-O-N instead of seeing the word Simon, then it sounds a bit like that. So in this, you need to be, God shall wipe away all tears, and there shall be no more death. And from bar 1, I was thinking all the way through to death. You've got to see the phrasing. You've got to see where you're going. Would you like to just run through the whole caboose? I shall play both parts, and so you get a chance to sing it. So this is the good bit. Yes, good idea, standing up there, Hugh. Well done. If you can stand up, it's good. I'm not going to stand up because I'm going to play the keyboard. But just give yourself a chance to really get some good breath in. If you're sitting down, that's fine as well, but just keep that top half of your body nice and poised so you can really breathe and do the job well. So here we go. The host has opened the breakout rooms. Please wait to be assigned. Oh, whatever that means. I will ignore that. And here we go. After 4. So breathe, 2, 3, 4. Think phrases. Oh, sorry, I'm really sorry. I did that before. I had the third page over the cover of the second page. I'll go from neither again. Apologies about that. 3, 4. Okay, good. I hope you managed to follow that through. As I was doing it, I remembered the way it was. It's that bar 13. I love those sevenths. Lovely clashes there. Isn't it great when you sing something? Dare I say, I think you know, and it's a great piece when you've only got two parts playing, but they work well together. They could be a piece on their own, couldn't they? Really beautiful. I said the word less as I got to bar 16. It's obviously marked piano, dim al fine. I'm a great believer that yes, dynamics can be very useful in some ways. They're a bit of a guide, but I'm a great believer for singers that we don't believe in dynamics. We believe in colours of the voice. So when I said less there, I was thinking I wanted a colour that reflected less there rather than piano, which is a bit of a, in some ways, a little bit meaningless in some ways to us musicians, I think, as singers, because we really think in words and how we express the words. So I would go, if I was singing the tenor line, I would sing bar 14. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. And I think there's a slight hiatus before that final chord, a moment of poise in the recording. It certainly feels as if to be. And obviously there's a rowl. It's very difficult to remember a rowl sometimes when it's at the top of a page. So if those of you printed it off, just get the pencil out and just give a little wiggly line to remind you that there might be a bit of slowing up going there. Any more questions? Jamie, have you got any questions there?
Why not? I figure that we've got one more minute.
Yeah.
There's a number of challenges in this, and we've covered plenty of them in this. So thank you, Simon. I wonder, in singing something like this much slower, I know we've had to rehearse faster to make sure we get through all of it and that feeling of sung through. And obviously it's very useful to rehearse things a little bit faster if it's going to be difficult for the breath, so we can make sure the notes are there. I wonder if you were to approach this in a choir like the 16, what you see as the kind of biggest challenge of this and how you deal with it.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously, I'm slightly on acetylene, if that's the right word, or something, or catnip myself when I'm trying to get through a rehearsal and I know there's a limited time. So I've pushed it a little bit faster. However, yeah, it is a very broad piece. So from my own technical point of view, it would obviously being much slower, I would take much deeper sounder breaths where possible, and I would be more economical with the breath so that I could do a really long phrase. So maybe neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. But even then I was a bit fast. But I started with a good breath, and then I was economical. I didn't blurt it all out in one lot. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that. We all have different lung capacity. There is this thing that's been discussed called staggered breathing. If you need to breathe in the middle of a phrase, generally somebody else will cover it. And certainly when there's two tenors and you're singing yards of polyphony, sometimes you need to breathe at the most peculiar times. You can get away with it providing that you don't put some consonant in early. So you wouldn't go, for instance, and tears, for instance, actually comes right at the end of it. That's the breath place. But you wouldn't, I'm trying to find an example for you now. Typical, can I find one in this? They're all pretty good, actually. They're not too long, these phrases. You wouldn't go, praise the Lord. There's an example. You wouldn't, in bar 10, you wouldn't go, praise the Lord. If you did need to breathe there, you would go, praise the Lord, and subtly put that final consonant of praise on the next word, so that you don't end up with a row of S's are there. Does that answer the question there?
I think it
Came.
certainly does, and I believe sopranos and altos. You may have just caught the back end of that answer.
Oh, are we
Welcome
back in?
back.
Oh, of course,
I
we're in
hope
the
you've
main
had.
room, aren't we? I forget
We
about
are
that.
indeed.
I was
Hope you've
expecting to go
had a
somewhere
great
else.
session. There's one thing, in fact, and I wonder, Kim. We've just had a similar answer. Kim, are you in? I was going to throw
Hello.
a question at you. I assumed you were.
Yeah, I'll take it if not, though.
Great. The question, I think we've
Hello,
just been talking
sorry.
sopranos and altos about the breath with something like this, which is of course quite a big challenge. In the
Yeah.
past, I know, Simon, we had a little thing in our last session, and I used this image of a long sheet of pasta that we put the consonants as the toppings on this uninterrupted flow of air. Kim, I wonder if you could sort of expand a little for all of us about how your approach to the breath for something like this would be for you.
Yeah. I think it's a similar image. Sort of spinning it out so that neither shall there be. So you're joining everything together so much that you're not allowing any of the breath to escape in a worthless sort of way. So it's really keeping the line. And then when you do need a breath, just letting the body accept all that air in rather than gulping it in. Okay, it's quite easy to, if you think, oh, I've got to take a quick breath somewhere, that you won't actually be relaxed enough to let enough of that air in for you to be able to
passive word let. Passive is great rather than take a breath.
Yes.
You don't need to. It's all about just allowing the air to come in. Thanks.
Yeah, Kim. And actually in this the ends of these phrases, you are given loads of time because there's so much, as you were saying, pulling of the tempo and the rubato. So you are actually given loads of time to really let that breath in and open up everything and keep it nice and open. So yeah, that's my top tip.
Thank you. And I love what you said. Oh, go on, Simon.
Yeah, just one little image that comes to my mind as well is pizza cheese, because sometimes we treat phrases a little bit like little cheddar chunks. Praise the Lord, like that. But actually, I like to think of it as like the mozzarella on a pizza, nice and stringy. You can pull it all out. You know that when it's melted. So if you think of your cheese as through the phrase, God, I don't know, God shall wipe away, rather, God shall wipe away, which is a bit more sort of chunky cheddar as opposed to mozzarella. Okay.
Great. Thank you. I mean, there you've heard it, everybody. That's 3 or 4 different ways of looking at breath, all with slightly mad imagery. So I think the one good takeaway from this is find an image that works for you, because it is so helpful. Technique is great to a point, but actually these images, usually of food in my case, are really helpful. Now, we're going to hand over to you guys for a little bit. Karl is, of course, here as well, and we'd love to give you a bit of a chance to ask a few more questions, either of the members of the 16, Simon and Kim, or to any of your questions to Karl. So do open the chat. I believe you are now allowed to chat. So do stick any questions you may have in the chat. However, I would like to go first with a question that I've seen from a surprising number of people over the last couple of weeks for Sir Karl. In this case, it was from Sharon Punter, but I've seen this from at least 20 people so far. And Karl, I wonder, the question usually goes along the lines of, is Welsh your first language, and have you written anything in Welsh?
I've said quite a bit of, can you hear me? Sorry.
We can.
Yeah. No, it's not. I speak very little Welsh. My grandfather was Swedish and spoke Swedish before English, but that was when I was 3 or 4, and then I've spoken English. My family didn't speak Welsh; we weren't Welsh speaking, and I'm from an era when it was neither encouraged nor was it compulsory in schools as it is now. Having said that, I've sung a lot of hymns in Welsh as part of my upbringing as a Methodist, chapel Methodist, so I've said quite a bit of Welsh as well. And as I said Latin, I refer to a native Welsh speaker if I have a problem with a certain text or whatever, or certain words. But I'm generally okay. So I'm not a Welsh speaker, no.
Great. Well, it's lovely to hear that you've set some lovely Welsh songs. It's a beautiful language to listen to. I had a very enjoyable time at the Eisteddfod a few years ago. Great. Do chuck your questions in the chat. I've seen a few. Oh wow, it's going completely mad.
I've got a give me a wave if you'd like to ask a question. Otherwise, I've got one that was submitted in advance.
I've got one I picked up on from the list.
Oh, go
Great.
for it.
I just mentioned this. Someone said I was beating an 8 on the video, which is true to a certain extent. I subdivide quite a lot on this because the tempo is so slow, and I think by subdividing the beats, it helps. So if it's in perfect sync, it should be a good aid as to where the time is. So be aware of that. I think I can't remember. It comes from the conducting performance comes from a live concert I did a year or so ago. And it's been, through the wonders of technology, I've been lifted from there and placed here for you. So we stuck with that. But it works quite well. And I think I started a slow 4, and then when there's movement, I tend to subdivide. So you'll see and hear that when you get to it anyway. So just bear that in mind.
Wonderful.
Great,
Very useful. Thank you.
Um,
Tori, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, unless I can see anybody waving, I'll just have a little look. There was a lovely question that was, were you expecting the armed man to become such a worldwide phenomenon? And do you have any inklings as to why that might be? And that's a question from Juliet Holton, who's from the UK.
Well, no, I didn't. I think there's 2 reasons why it's been successful. One, I like to think it's memorable, and some of the melodies. Someone said, I think it was Lord Bragg, Melvyn Bragg, if it has memorability and longevity, then it's art. I'm not concerned whether it's art or not. It's just music from me, intuitively, music for the soul, really. So what was the question?
Just yeah, was it a bit of a surprise? Because you went it quite quickly, didn't you? In about a year.
Yeah. No, so I think it's appealed for musical reasons, obviously, but also the whole concept, and politically, it's appealed to a lot of people because it's a universal message of peace that encompasses all creeds, religions, beliefs, or none. I noticed there was a question at the end there somewhere about the words of the Karl you've just sung. Is more that one is based in heaven rather than on earth. But I think it's applicable to all situations, and it appeals to and is meant to exist in this context for all cultures and all creeds and all denominations. The sentiment, and it's not necessarily only a Christian heaven, and it's also a prayer of hope for non-believers as well, for secular people who are singing, obviously, in this number. So I'd just like to mention that.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, and now we're nearly there with time, I believe, but there's one question again that's popped up a fair amount, and I know we've spoken about it at the very, very beginning of the set of this whole project, but this is obviously a very, very new format that hasn't been tried with a work like this before. People are wondering what your opinion is on the challenges of a digital. Other than figuring it out as we learn, what do you feel your challenges are with a performance like this, Karl, and how do you feel about it all?
I think the challenges, the main challenges for a chorister, I would assume, is singing alone and not kind of bouncing off other people. It might be unemotional to sing alone, feeling unemotional because you don't have the weight of companions really in the same emotional space. So I don't sing, but I would suggest that might be a challenge. Technically, there's a lot that we can do with this, or not me, but people involved in it, like Jamie, can do with it later to adjust certain blemishes. So in that way, one has control. In that sense, one has control over almost every element of it. So those aspects wouldn't be such an issue in the scheme of things, though it means more work for editors who are involved. But I very often going back a few years to Eddie Amos, that was assembled like that, with one solo voice, layer upon layer, layer upon layer, ending up with 37 or 40 voices. Same person who had quite a wide range. So it was, the original Eddie Amos was SSA or SAA, whichever way you want to look at it. And the top part didn't go above C or D. So it wasn't a really high soprano part at all. Anyway, that's another story. But I think this emotional context of being in a box, I think.
Indeed, and I think it's something worth thinking as well. While it might feel very lonely, singing alone, I think certainly something that I've discovered, and I hope lots of you will agree with me at this, is that actually knowing that so many other people around the world are singing at the same time as you, even if not in the same space, has certainly been something I've been really grateful to know in this quite difficult time for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, that is time, I'm afraid. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again to our wonderful members of the 16, Simon Berridge and Kim Porter. Thank you so much. I hope those rehearsals were enlightening for you and particularly useful on what I personally think is my favourite movement and really, really wonderful to sing. So thank you so much. I know some of you have technical questions. And you're very welcome to ask those. Please get in touch on our Facebook pages. Send Moya, who has been doing a fab job behind the scenes today. Thank you so much to Moya and the rest of the team. If you've got technical questions, do stick them in a direct message to us and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Submissions haven't yet opened for the final chorale, so do not fear. It will open. You will be able to submit your snapshots and your final recording via the website as per every other movement of this piece. That, I think, is all from me. Tori, anything
all of
from you?
the opening and closing dates for the different submissions are all up on the website. You just need to navigate to the Armed Man project and then you can choose which movement to view, and all the information you need for that movement is there. Great. So the other thing I was going to say is that I'm getting a little bit of an echo. But also that we've been joined by several people who've got up at 4 a.m. I saw that there was somebody else who was a tenor who got up at 4 a.m. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out as well. And thank you to Kim and Simon. And I will finally hand over to Sir Karl Jenkins to wrap up and say goodbye.
Well, thank you all so much again. I hope you've enjoyed the day or the night, wherever you are. So enjoy it. Be confident when you approach your singing, and I'm sure it'll turn out well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karl. Thank you very much.
Bye. See you again, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you all soon.
Mr. Karl.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Paula.
Australia.
Bye, Sue. Bye, Stephen. Bye, Angie.
Bye.
Bye. Bye,
Moya. Moya.
Bye, Emily. Thanks for sending that.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hey, Rashida.
Oh my goodness, there's a cat in the picture.
Hey, bye. Oh, no.
Bye. That's a cat.
Hi, Julia.
There's a cat.
Meow.
Bye, everybody.
Dear.
Ciao.
Lovely cat.
Thank you.
Like the cat.
Hi, Galina and her cat. Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, Jinky, the 4 a.m. tenor.
Bye. Have a nice
Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, we're down to one page, and you know what that means.
Know what
We will
that
boot
means.
you out.
Yes.
It's not personal. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Give us a wave and say bye if you need us to kick you out.
Bye.
See you soon, everybody. Bye, Jill.
Bye.
Bye, Moira. Bye, Sue. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, Lane. Bye, Lane.
Hello and goodbye.
Bye.
I'm
Bye,
afraid I
Izzy.
can't. I'm not a co-host, so I can't help. I'm afraid.
Goodbye, Jennifer. Oh, I nearly removed Tori then. Bye, Jennifer. Thanks for coming. You may well have frozen by the looks of things. Bye, Julia.